We are back today with a versus video, and it is Battle of the Heavyweights. So we're talking all about 3 deeply cushioned trail running shoes that have been designed for one thing in mind, and that is running long distance over a big mix of terrain. I put good mileage into all 3 pairs of shoes, so let's get stuck into the video and find out which pair comes out on top. Welcome back folks, I'm Lloyd Purvis and this is Run4Adventure. Hope everybody is fit and well, and if you're new to the channel then welcome, it's great to have you along. But don't forget, if you enjoy this video, to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It really does help us out when it comes to the crazy world of the YouTube algorithm. But also don't forget to hit that bell icon so you'll be notified when we upload any new exciting running content. With the world of ultra running blowing up and becoming more and more popular day by day, a lot of the brands are really focusing their attentions on that ultra running market. So the innovate TrailFly Ultra G 300 Max, which will be known as the TrailFly from now on in this video because of its ridiculously long name, the Altra Mont Blanc, and then Hoka's Speedgoat 5s are 3 very popular shoes for running long distances, but they are very different when it comes to their design and features. I've actually done a full in-depth review on all 3 shoes, so what I'll do is I'll leave a link down in the description for those 3 videos if you want to find out any more information. I think the best thing to do is to break this video down into sections. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the specs of the shoes, then we're going to go through the upper construction, the fit, midsole and outsole performance, and then we're going to wrap up with a quick conclusion where I pick out the shoe that has performed best for me when we take all those things into consideration. So let's get stuck in and let's start with the specs first. Starting off with the all-important price, and the most expensive shoe that we tested was Innovate's TrailFly, coming in at a pretty pricey £170 here in the UK, closely followed by the Altra Mont Blanc at £165, and then I suppose you have to say the most affordable shoe out of the 3 is the Hoka Speedgoat at £130. So you can see there's quite a lot of difference between the shoe prices, and the Hoka is clearly the best value shoe that we tested. Moving on to weight, and back at the top of that list is the TrailFly, coming in at a pretty hefty 342 grams in a men's UK 9.5. Then second on that list is the Hoka Speedgoat at 312 grams, but that is in a men's UK 10, so I always tend to go up half a size in my Speedgoats. And the lightest shoe in the 3 is Altra's Mont Blanc, coming in at 292 grams in a UK 9.5, which I actually think is a pretty good weight when you think of all that soft, bouncy cushioning in the midsole. Moving on to offset or heel drop, and basically what I mean by that is the difference in height between the stack height under your forefoot and the stack height under your heel. Now this is something that is super personal when it comes to running shoes, especially if you're running distance. So some runners will feel that a little bit of heel offset is a really positive thing to have. As they run distance, start to fatigue, it takes a bit of tension off the lower leg. And then other runners will think the complete opposite, and that heel offset just gets in the way. So like I say, super personal. The highest heel out of the 3 is the TrailFly with a 6mm heel offset. Dropping down 2mm is the Speedgoats on a 4mm, and then we have the Mont Blanc from Altra, so obviously a 0 drop. So by 0 drop, I mean you have the same stack height under your heel as you do have under your forefoot, and that's quite a new, unique thing with the Altra brand, and all the shoes in their road range and trail range run off a 0 drop. So there's some basic specs for you: price, weight, heel offset, and you can already see that the shoes are quite different in every department. Now we're going to break down the construction in a bit more detail, and we're going to start from the top with the upper first. So the Innovate is sort of quite an old school looking running shoe. So we've got this sort of engineered breathable, soft mesh construction, but you can also see quite a lot of structural overlays over that upper, working from the heel of the shoe, round the midfoot, around that toe box and the lace eyelets, just to give that upper some substance, to give you a nice midfoot lockdown, but also to help when it comes to durability. And then rounding off, we've got a nice sort of rubberized toe bumper there as well for a bit of added protection from trail debris. Like so many shoes these days, it has a gusseted tongue in that upper, and this is a feature I tend to look for in my trail running shoes, but that tongue is quite thin in design, and this is something that crosses over all three shoes that are featuring in this video. None of them have a lot of padding in that tongue department, but yep, the Innovate upper, pretty solid construction, lots of durable overlays, but moving to the other end of the spectrum is the Mont Blanc upper, a very different upper this time round, and Altra have gone for a lighter, sort of racier feel when it comes to the upper of this shoe. First of all, they've used lighter material in that construction, and in fact, two different types of materials. So we've got this very soft plush fabric wrapping around the toe box to the midfoot, and then it transitions into a slightly stiffer, almost see-through kind of fabric that wraps around the back end of the shoe, trying to give that upper a bit more substance. If I push that heel down, you can see it's still pretty soft and understructured, so there's no sort of plastic heel cup going on in this shoe like there is in the other two. When it comes to the padding, pretty minimal around the ankle collar, and very similar to the other shoes, we've still got a very thin gusseted tongue design. Altra have worked in a bit of padding down the center of that tongue just to try and offer the top of your foot a bit of protection when you pull those laces down nice and tight. So all in all, Altra have gone for a sort of lighter, more stripped back, less structured upper design. Finally, when it comes to upper construction, the Hoka Speedgoat 5, and I would say that it sits somewhere in the middle of the other two. So it's got a little bit more substance going on than the Altra, but nowhere near as much that's been put into the TrailFlies. Hoka have gone for this sort of knitted mesh construction this time round, so making the upper very breathable, but also very soft and very lightweight. And they've used lots of recycled fabric in that upper construction, which is always a good thing. We don't have many structural overlays like the Altra shoe, so we have a few around the lace eyelets for durability, and we got this rubber overlay around the toe, but that's more about protection when you're out on the trails. We got a nice level of padding around that ankle collar, and we've got some substance in that heel cup as well. Hoka have used their new flared heel design for the first time ever in the Speedgoat, and it has definitely been a little bit controversial, that's for sure. And lastly, we have a very similar thin gusseted tongue design in that upper, so not really offering a lot of padding or protection across the top of your foot. Up next is fit and sizing, and I tend to run most of my running shoes in a UK 9.5. That's why I got the Altra Mont Blanc in, and it is sized up true to size, so I've been fine in the UK 9.5. Like I said before, when it comes to Speedgoats, I always tend to go up half a size, so I've got this in a UK 10, it fits me just right, so I tend to find that the Speedgoats do size up a little bit short in length. Moving on to the TrailFly, and I stuck with a UK 9.5 in this shoe. It felt fine. I did kind of and ah whether to go up half a size in it, but I stuck with the UK 9.5. It was fine for my shorter runs. When I ran the Southwest Traverse in the shoe, a challenging 45 miles, I really wish I had gone up half a size because it did feel a bit small once my feet had expanded, and I ended up losing a couple of toenails. Now, I understand that this can happen when you're running that kind of distance, but it was definitely down to the shoes being a little bit too clipped. So yeah, I think the TrailFly does size up a little bit short, and I wish I'd gone up to a UK 10. When it comes down to width, obviously the Altra has that foot-shaped design, so quite a lot of volume and width in that toe box, especially if I hold it up against the Speedgoat. You can see it's a very different shape and design going on. But I would also say that the Innovate gave good levels of volume and width in that toe box, plenty of wiggle room, plenty of room for expansion. That is, if you get the right size shoe in the first place. I would say the narrowest out of the three has to be the Speedgoat, but I still wouldn't say it's a super narrow shoe. I think with Hoka making that upper design a lot softer, there's definitely a lot more give in that upper. But if I had to pick one when it comes to the best fitting shoe for my foot shape, I think it is a very close call between the Speedgoat and the Innovate, but the TrailFly would just about creep out on top. I think those structural overlays really help when it comes down to midfoot lockdown. Having a nice bit of substance around the heel, I feel very secure inside the upper. Maybe a little bit more padding in the tongue next time round, although it was comfortable. I didn't have any issues with it, but I think it would perform better with a little bit more padding. If I didn't have to pull the Speedgoats in so tight around the midfoot, if you have a look at those laces, you can see there's not a lot of space between those laces for adjustment. I think the Speedgoat would have probably come out on top for fit. I would definitely like to see a few more overlays on that upper. You know, it's great having a very soft, flexible upper construction, but shoes give over time and they stretch over time. And I think a few midfoot overlays would have been a good thing when it comes to longevity of fit and durability. Right, let's talk all about midsoles, and clearly, all three shoes are deeply cushioned trail running shoes, and I've actually enjoyed the comfort and performance of all three midsoles. I'd say the G-Fly foam in the TrailFly is probably the firmest out of the three, although it's still performed very well, been very comfortable underfoot. And I think by having that slightly firmer midsole, it makes the shoe feel very connected and very stable whilst running on technical terrain, especially for a deeply cushioned trail shoe. Whereas the Hoka shoe and the Ultra shoe are noticeably softer when it comes to that midsole compound, but I think you do lose a little bit of connection when you're running out on technical trails. I think the downside to that G-Fly foam is it does make the shoe quite heavy, and you do notice that midsole when you're out running in the TrailFlies. It's a real close call when it comes to all three midsoles, and I'd happily run on top of all three of them. But I think the Ego Max midsole in the Ultra shoe has performed really well. I think it offers that great balance of sort of comfort, connection, responsiveness, and stability. So when it comes to midsole performance, the Ultra shoe takes it. Up next is outsole, and this is a really important topic, especially if you live in the UK and you have to deal with those wet, muddy, slippery winters and dry, hard, dusty summers. That is, if we get the weather. Two of the shoes have the super sticky Vibram Mega Grip compound on the outsole, but the variant on the Ultra is a new light-based Mega Grip, so still offers those great sticky properties, but it does come in a little bit lighter and save you a few grams. Having Vibram rubber on both outsoles means both shoes has performed really well, especially in rocky environments, whether they're wet or dry. You feel super safe. It really is a sort of confidence boosting rubber outsole. However, the lug depth is a little bit shallower on the Ultra shoe compared to the Speedgoat 5s. It actually performed a lot better than I thought it would on the muddy sections that I ran the shoe, but I'd still like a slightly deeper lug, and I think Hoka have got it just right with their 5mm lug depth. The TrailFly utilises Innovate's grippiest and hardest wearing rubber compound, graphene grip. This rubber compound is quite unique to Innovate, and they've actually infused graphene into the rubber. And if you don't know, graphene is the world's strongest material. We've got a slightly shallower lug depth of 4mm, but these lugs are pretty chunky in design, and I've been really happy with how this outsole has performed, and I think it crosses over really well to lots of different underfoot conditions, whether they're wet or dry. I've got no complaints when it comes down to grip and traction from the TrailFlies. Finally, we have to talk all about overall performance as I tested the shoes out on the trails of Cornwall. I personally think none of them are perfect. There's a few tweaks and changes that could be made to all of them. Some of them very, very minor, some of them quite major sort of redesigns. I've really enjoyed my time in the TrailFlies, and I've put the most miles into this shoe, including that super challenging 45-mile ultra marathon, and it is coped with everything really, really well. I would definitely like to see a sort of weight reduction of around 40 grams. I think that would make a massive difference to the performance of this shoe. It would make it a lot more responsive on shorter, faster runs, and just make it a much more versatile running shoe. We've got to talk price. £170. It is a very expensive shoe, and I think it put a lot of people off trying it out in the first place. You can actually pick some of the older colorways up. This one included quite heavily reduced now for around about £135, and I actually think that should have been the price in the first place, and then this would have made it a very good trail running shoe for the money. However, moving on to the Mont Blancs from Altra, there is some bigger issues going on that kind of need a complete overhaul when it comes to the Mont Blanc 2. And them two issues are fit and poor lockdown. You know, I just think the whole upper is understructured, and it's very hard to get that upper locked down around your midfoot, and almost impossible to stop that heel from slipping, down to the fact that it's just so soft and understructured in the back end of the shoe. I ran them out on a couple of sort of technical steep descents, and my foot was slipping all over the place, and it just made for a very uncomfortable and unstable experience. And when you think the shoe has been designed to take on challenging mountainous races like UTMB, that's just not good enough. Also, another thing I was quite shocked at is the lack of toe protection. Again, a shoe that's designed for mountainous running, you know, if you were to kick a rock as you were sort of tearing down a long technical rocky descent, then you would have a big problem and probably a broken toe. So we definitely need to get some form of sort of toe protection or rubber bumper in the upper. I think it's a real shame with all those sort of lockdown and fit issues going on in the upper, because I've been a big fan of how this Ego Max midsole has performed out on the trails. You know, I was excited about this shoe. There was a lot of hype surrounding it. I wanted to get a pair and try them out, and it was actually a shoe I thought I might use for the TDS in August. Obviously, with all those issues going on, I'm definitely not going to be wearing these for the race. Again, I think with all those issues, the hefty price tag of £165, I really do think it is sort of back to the drawing board for these. Last but definitely not least, we have Hoka's offering, and it is the Speedgoat. Obviously, anyone that's followed the channel for any length of time knows that I've run a lot of miles in the Speedgoat models, and I've really got on with the shoe. However, I was quite disappointed with the last version, the Speedgoat 4s. They changed the fit quite drastically. It just didn't work for my foot shape. I found it really hard to lock the shoe down around my midfoot, and it just felt quite unstable on technical trails because of that. Obviously, I was very disappointed because I really loved the previous version, the 3, and I actually stopped running in the Speedgoats altogether. After waiting for what seemed like an eternity for the Speedgoat 5s and having my fingers tightly crossed hoping that the shoe was going to perform better and more like the Speedgoat 3s, I've almost got what I wanted. And I say almost because the fit has definitely been improved, but I still think the 3s work better for my foot shape. It was one of those trail shoes that I just laced up, put on, went running any distance, and I never really gave it a second thought. And you know, that's always a great feeling when you get that in a trail running shoe. When it comes to these, I have had to play around with the laces quite a lot, and like I've mentioned, I do have to pull that midfoot in quite tight around my foot just to get that desired lockdown. But I have enjoyed running in the new Speedgoats, and I've pretty much done all my long runs in the shoe, and I think it's really helped as I've sort of increased the mileage coming back from all those niggles. I would like to have seen a few more overlays, structural overlays on that upper, especially around the midfoot, just to give the shoe a bit more substance to help with lockdown, but also durability and longevity of fit. But definitely a big improvement for me and my foot shape compared to the previous Speedgoat 4s, and it's just good to be back in the shoe and racking up some good miles. So there you have it, 3 deeply cushioned, ultra inspired trail running shoes, and how I've thought about how they've performed over the miles that I've run in them while I've been testing them out. But wrapping up with a quick conclusion, if you're in the market for a deeply cushioned shoe that's going to eat up those miles, it's going to offer you good levels of comfort on a big mix of terrains, and give you an outsole that's going to give you good levels of grip and traction in most weather conditions, then the first thing I would say is maybe give the Ultra Mont Blancs a miss this time round. Maybe wait for the updated Mont Blanc 2, where maybe some of those fit and lockdown issues have been addressed, because the performance of that Ego Max midsole was brilliant. So a top performing midsole, if they get those problems sorted out, then it's going to be a really good performing trail shoe. Unfortunately, this time around, the negatives definitely outweigh the positives. So it really comes down to 2 shoes, and that is the TrailFly and the Hoka Speedgoats, and I've actually enjoyed how both shoes have performed. I think if the TrailFly had been 30 or 40 grams lighter, it would have probably come out in top spot. Obviously, that isn't the case, so the Speedgoat 5 has to take it. I really have enjoyed the updated version and how it's running, and I can see myself spending a lot of time in this shoe out on the trails of Cornwall over the next couple of months, and it is definitely leading the way when it comes to the shoes that I'm going to be running the TDS in. So that is it, another versus video crushed at Run4Adventure, and I know you guys love a versus video, so I really hope you've enjoyed this one. If you have enjoyed it, you know what to do. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It would also be great to hear your feedback, guys. So if you've run in any one of these shoes, or if you run in all three, then let us know your feelings. How have they performed to you? Would you have put the Speedgoat in top spot? Let us know all about it in the comments below. If you are enjoying the content that we're producing here at Run4Adventure and you'd like to support us, then we got some great merchandise available at run4adventure.uk. T-shirts, hoodies, and some really cool multi-wrap designs on there as well. And you can also support us now through our Patreon page for as little as £2 a month. Not only does it really help us out of the channel, but it also opens up a world of Run4Adventure perks. So what I'll do is I'll leave a link in the description below for the merch store and our Patreon page. But until next time, guys, thanks for watching. It's always appreciated. We will be back here very soon, and as always, stay safe and keep on running. The difference between the stack height under your forefoot, a much more stripped back, lightweight, under-structured kind of designed up, knitted mesh construction this time round, making it very soft, very stretchable. No, not a word. Stretchable, is it? Stretchable? No.